So when you right now though, when you have adversity, does it pump you up honestly, or do you get a little, to take the wind out of your sails, or do you?
It pumps me up because I see it as a game.
Yeah.
And I think you have to keep score a little bit
Yeah.
in the way that you do things, and you have to keep score with yourself. And you know, it's also said all the time, you know, just go with your feelings. And again, feelings are great, but they are very unreliable. In business and in life, if you just do what you feel like doing all the time, you won't succeed. You've got to say, man, I don't feel like doing this. Let's see if I can beat my feelings. Because I know that my feelings are lying to me. I know that they're unreliable at the moment. I don't feel like getting up at 5 o'clock, but I know when I do, my day goes so much better. So I'm just going to get up. That feeling of that overwhelming feeling of I want to hit the snooze button and stay in bed till 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. It's overwhelming at 5 o'clock in the morning. But every single time I beat my feelings, at their own game, I win. And so anytime you have adversity, and a lot of times it's your feelings, if you just play a little game to choose over what you feel, it always feels better later.
I'm going to say this, and I just want to encourage you. Every one of these entrepreneurs, as you look around here, look at Rocky for a second. This Rocky poster.
Rocky the Entrepreneur. Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone. I want you to, if you're watching this right now, I encourage you to look up his story. This guy was born with paralysis of the tongue. He literally talks that way because of a birth defect. He then was told that he was too short to play in movies. He was told he wasn't a good actor. So he wrote his own script and was rejected well north of 50 times. And so Sylvester Stallone, he was told by countless people that his movie was a bad idea, that it wasn't any good, and there wasn't any money to pay him because he wasn't a good actor. So he says, I'm going to take a percentage of the revenue from this movie. Well, $150 million and an Academy Award later, he now has the Rocky series. He owns the rights to this. But he got rejected well north of 50 times over a period of years. Think about how that would feel. Or Thomas Edison, 10,000 light bulb experiments his team did. Do the math on that. If we just did 10 failed experiments a day, imagine making 10 experiments a day for 5 days a week. That's 50 a week. It'd be 250 a year. I guess it'd be 2,500 a year if we did it for 50 weeks a year. It would take you 4 years of failing 10 times a day before you could invent the light bulb. Yeah. I mean, if we didn't have that kind of crazy tenacity, we wouldn't be here. As a country, we wouldn't have light bulbs. We wouldn't. So I would encourage you, if you're whatever adversity you're dealing with right now, let it pump you up. Beat yourself. I mean, just you can do it. Right. You can win this thing. Now, have you been able to, through your career, have you been able to learn to when you feel that emotion, to look for that seed of an equivalent benefit? I mean, do you really sometimes when it's getting really bad, do you go, what can I learn from this? I mean, do you do that ever?
Yeah, and I try to think about if I do this tough decision now, or if I overcome my feeling here to not take action or to not do the right thing, I try to think, if I do this right thing that's hard, look at what it will happen for me in the future. Because if you don't have like a marathon mentality, if you have like just a sprint, you're going to get to the most immediate, easiest thing possible, which turns out it turns into immoral decisions, and ultimately those things give you a bad name. And a good name is much more valuable than tons of money. I mean, we all want to make money, but if you do it at the expense of just doing it at the immediate, and you don't look at it as a long-term project, your life is a long-term game. You know, it's like I think about the NBA players or the Major League Baseball players, how many games they play throughout the year. It's just non-stop. It's a grind, and they get to that point, and then at the end, it's like it all pays off at the end. And that's how it works in a career. Is you don't look at it as a sprint just to get the quick buck. You look at it as a marathon, and you'll make the right decision knowing that it's going to pay off in the future. It might take 4 or 5 years, but it's going to pay off later.